Today is Monday, June 23rd. We'll tell you all about the U.S. attacking Iran, why President Trump ordered the strike, and how Iran could retaliate. Also, we're talking about a heat wave impacting more than 150 million Americans, and how a potential mass shooting was stopped at a Michigan church over the weekend. Plus, what could become a new side hustle for Tesla owners, how many new millionaires are minted every day in America, and who just won the NBA championship for the first time. Those stories and even more news to know coming up. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. In a decision that could reshape the future of the Middle East and President Trump's time in office, the American commander-in-chief, President Trump, decided to attack Iran. It was the first time the U.S. has directly bombed the Islamic Republic. And with that, the U.S. and the rest of the world wait to see how Iran responds. The U.S. military hit Iran's most important nuclear sites with what are known as bunker-busting bombs. It was the first time they had been used in any war. And in a national address Saturday night, President Trump says they worked to obliterate the nuclear facilities, taking a, quote, bomb right out of their hands. But later, Vice President J.D. Vance said the U.S. still needs to find out whether Iran still has enough uranium to build a nuclear weapon. The New York Times cites Israeli officials who say Iran actually moved its equipment and uranium from nuclear sites in recent days. Either way, the Iranian government says it's going to keep working on its nuclear program. For now, the United Nations nuclear watchdog says it's not able to see how much damage was done, and the UN Secretary General called for de-escalation. So where does this all go from here? Well, one key worry for Americans right now is about cyber attacks. The U.S. Homeland Security Department warned that cyber attackers affiliated with the Iranian government could target U.S. networks. So it told everyone in charge of critical infrastructure to immediately shore up their security. As far as military retaliation goes, experts say it's unlikely Iran's military could actually strike the U.S., especially since it's been weakened by recent fighting with Israel. Though NBC News cites sources who say Iran threatened to activate sleeper cells within the U.S. to launch terror attacks. A bulletin from the National Terrorism Advisory System went out yesterday, and senior FBI and Homeland Security officials briefed hundreds of state and local law enforcement officials and state governors about the so-called threat environment in the U.S. It's also worth noting Iran has many allies and proxies, including Russia, and Iran's foreign minister actually went to Russia yesterday for urgent talks with Russian President Putin. Another concern is for the tens of thousands of American troops who are based in the Middle East. But the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said yesterday that American forces are, quote, on high alert and fully postured to respond to any Iranian retaliation. President Trump was more specific, saying there would be far greater attacks if Iran does not make peace. While American defense leaders say the U.S. is not after a full-blown war either, and they're calling on Iran to return to the negotiating table. By the way, fighting is still happening between Israel and Iran, with more strikes happening already this morning. So it doesn't seem like that conflict is going to end anytime soon. Well, back in the U.S., the White House is explaining exactly how President Trump decided to attack Iran and defending itself against critics. Vice President J.D. Vance says the president issued the final order just minutes before the bombs were dropped. Of course, the plan had already been in motion by then, but the commander of the U.S. Joint Chiefs of Staff said it was a highly classified mission, and very few people in Washington actually knew all the details of what might happen. Typically, before major military actions, the president notifies the so-called Gang of Eight. They're the top congressional leaders and intelligence committee chairs from both parties. This time, Trump briefed the Republican members of the Gang of Eight, but not the Democrats. So the Dems now say it was unconstitutional for the president to bomb Iran without congressional approval. Some of them are even calling it an impeachable offense. On the other side, most GOP members are saying it was the right call to keep Iran from becoming a deadly threat. And they point out how other presidents have also launched strikes without Congress signing off. But some Republicans are also upset and surprised that President Trump made the decision to strike when he ran on a platform of keeping the U.S. out of foreign conflicts. Now Trump is using the phrase on social media, "Make Iran great again." And outrage has spread beyond Washington. Anti-war activists took to the streets in several American cities yesterday to protest. More protests are planned for today. The U.S. attack on Iran could have a big impact on the American economy. Already, oil prices have jumped more than 2%, and they could really skyrocket if Iran closes the Strait of Hormuz. The Iranian parliament approved a measure to do just that over the weekend in retaliation for the bombing. But ultimately, the decision will come down to Iran's top leaders. The Strait of Hormuz is important because about 1/5 of the world's total oil consumption passes through it. And analysts say if it closes, inflation would almost immediately rise in the U.S. and around the world. It could anyway, since reports say some supertankers have already turned away from the strait following the strikes. That said, closing the strait could also be bad for Iran's economy. And if Iran decides not to retaliate, prices are expected to fall right back down soon. Stay tuned. But one of the most prominent activists who protested against Israel has been freed from federal detention. We're talking about Mahmoud Khalil, who has become a symbol of the Trump administration's crackdown on college campus protests. He was born and raised in a Palestinian refugee camp in Syria, but went to college at Columbia University here in the U.S. and became a lawful U.S. permanent resident last year. But the Trump administration wants to deport him, saying he's undermining the government's foreign policy interests. Khalil was arrested by immigration agents in March and spent 104 days in custody before a judge on Friday ordered his release. The government already says it's going to appeal, but Khalil says that won't stop him, and he's going back to pro-Palestinian activism. Church members in Michigan stopped what would have likely been a mass shooting at a Sunday service. A gunman got to the church while services were underway, wearing a tactical vest and armed with a long gun and handgun. Authorities say he started opening fire outside, but a church member hit him with his truck, and at least 2 security guards shot the shooter. Police say the gunman ended up being the only person who died. A guard was also shot, but their injuries are said to be non-life-threatening. Now the local police chief says that guard and the other staff members saved many lives. Tens of millions of Americans are still under extreme heat alerts. A heat wave is expected to continue across the Midwest, Mid-Atlantic, and Northeast today. Some temperatures could reach 15 degrees above normal for June. Specifically, temps could reach 100 degrees this week in Boston and the Washington, D.C. metro area. And New York City is expected to see highs around 95 degrees, and it's likely to feel even hotter. Cities are preparing by setting up cooling centers for people who don't have access to air conditioning. It should cool off at least a little bit by Thursday. Over the weekend, a couple of big American companies crossed off some big milestones. For starters, Tesla unleashed its small squad of self-driving robo-taxis in Austin, Texas. For now, the company is remotely monitoring them and putting a person in every passenger seat just in case of trouble. And if the demo in Austin is a success, the service could expand to other cities. In fact, Tesla CEO Elon Musk has said he wants to add a software update to millions of Teslas already on the road, letting owners turn their cars into driverless cabs. Of course, Tesla rival Waymo has already rolled out driverless taxis in cities like Los Angeles, San Diego, Austin, and more. It just completed its 10 millionth paid ride. Separately, Meta rolled out new models of its smart glasses. After seeing success with its Ray-Ban glasses already, Meta decided to team up with Oakley on the new ones. Like the original models, the Oakley versions can take and make phone calls, play music, take pictures, and use Meta's artificial intelligence to answer questions about what's around. But these ones are aimed at athletes and are said to include improved video recording. The new versions start at $400 and will be available to order next month. The Oklahoma City Thunder are now the new NBA champions. They beat the Indiana Pacers 103-91 last night in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. This is the Thunder's first championship since the team relocated to Oklahoma City from Seattle. This was also the closest the Pacers have ever come to an NBA title. But now they're dealing with a lot of uncertainty. Last night, they had to play most of the game without their star point guard, Tyrese Halliburton. He left in the first quarter with a significant injury to his right leg, and his father told ESPN it was an Achilles injury, meaning he could be out next season, too. Meanwhile, the Thunder are getting ready for their championship parade tomorrow, while the rest of the NBA looks forward to the draft on Wednesday. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, thanks to our sponsor, OneSkin. Did you know that part of skincare is scalp care? And of course, our scalp impacts the growth and health of our hair. Just like the rest of your body, the scalp experiences cellular aging. But instead of wrinkles, it messes with your hair follicles and natural growth cycle. So since the scalp is skin, I'm turning to the company I already love for my skincare, OneSkin. OS1 is the first scalp serum powered by OneSkin's OS1 peptide, which targets those aging cells. It's scientifically proven to help your hair cells do what they're meant to do. Grow fuller, denser, healthier hair with OneSkin's OS1 hair. I've already started using it with the OS1 hair derma roller, which feels like a mini head massage, and it's meant to supercharge the scalp treatment. Founded and led by an all-women team of skin longevity scientists, OneSkin is redefining the aging process with their proprietary OS1 peptide. Get 15% off with our code NEWSWORTHY at oneskin.co. That's 15% off oneskin.co with the code NEWSWORTHY. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and tell them we sent you. Invest in the health and longevity of your skin and scalp with OneSkin. Your future self will thank you. The Newsworthy is also brought to you by Hiya Health. Even in the sometimes chaotic mornings we have trying to get our little kiddo out the door to preschool and us ready for work, there's part of our morning routine that always seems to feel kind of easy. And that's time for our morning vitamins. My 3-year-old is always thrilled to get his Hiya Children's vitamins and probiotic and take them every day. He loves the flavor and the routine of it. And I feel good that he's taking them since they're formulated with the help of pediatricians and nutritional experts to help support his immunity, energy, brain function, mood, his developing body, and more. And if you're tired of battling with your kids to eat their greens, Hiya now has Kids Daily Greens Plus Superfoods, a chocolate-flavored greens powder designed specifically for kids, packed with more than 55 whole food ingredients to support brain power, development, and digestion. Just scoop, shake, and sip with milk or any non-dairy beverage for a delicious and nutritious boost your kids will actually enjoy. And we've worked out a special deal with Hiya for their best-selling children's vitamin. Receive 50% off your first order. To claim this deal, you must go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy. This deal is not available on their regular website. So go to hiyahealth.com/newsworthy and get your kids the full body nourishment they need to grow into healthy adults. Now back to Money Monday. The world's population of millionaires exploded last year, and most of them were American. That's according to the latest global wealth report from UBS. It says the U.S. added more than 1,000 new millionaires every day last year. That means the U.S. accounted for more than half of all new millionaires created around the world. And now the U.S. has almost 24 million millionaires in total. So how are all these people making so much money? Well, most of the growth apparently came from a strong stock market, and a stable U.S. dollar helped a lot too. Wall Street has been more rocky this year, but over the next 5 years, UBS economists still expect more than 5 million more people to see their net worths reach at least $1 million. The report measured wealth by looking at both a person's financial assets and real assets like housing, but it did not include their debts. By those metrics, at the end of last year, the average wealth per American adult was around $312,000. So even though the number of millionaires is growing, they are still a minority. Thank you so much for joining us today and for your support of the show. You can get ad-free episodes when you become a Newsworthy Insider. Start your free trial at thenewsworthy.com/insider. And Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to episodes of The Newsworthy ad-free in the Wondery app. We'll be back with even more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.